Hello, this is Dr. John Baugh again. Hopefully you already joined us for the installation of OpenJDK 13 and Apache NetBeans 11.2 from the previous video. This video will focus on ensuring that you can install the Open JavaFX 13 and also make sure that you can create projects of that type appropriately, and also maybe we'll launch a very simple project just to make sure that everything's correct. So some of this setup is going to be kind of a one-time thing, and then some of it's going to be stuff you have to do every time you create or want to create a JavaFX application. So I'm going to open up Apache NetBeans 11.2. And once I have this open, we'll notice that I have my very simple, basic project that I created in the last video, which doesn't do all that much. It just says hello world to the console. But now we want to do something a little bit more complex. As you might recall, under the documents on this account, I have a Java stuff folder. And inside there, I have the JDK 13 and also JavaFX 13. You have to make sure that they match. So JavaFX 13 is right here, and it's the open version. So we'll have to keep track of the fact that this thing lives right here. So I'm going to create a brand, or going to create in just a moment a brand new Java application, and we're going to enable it for the open source version of JavaFX and to use the JDK. So right now, I'm going to go to Tools, and then Libraries. And then in here, I'm going to create a library to hold all of the JavaFX 13 stuff. If you're asked, you should make sure that the library location is Global Libraries. Create a new library, and then this one, I'm going to just call it JavaFX 13. Hit OK. And now it's added to the list. Now currently this has nothing in it, so we have to add something. So I'm going to go to the Add Jar folder. I'm going to go to my documents, the Java stuff, JavaFX, SDK, lib, and you notice there's a bunch of jar files in here and then a source.zip. You can click and then do shift-click down to the bottom of all the jar files, but you do not want to include the source.zip. Hit Add Jar Folder, and then you're going to hit OK. So that was a one-time thing that you need to do on your NetBeans setup, or every time you upgrade the version of the OpenJDK and JavaFX, you have to kind of redo that and make a new library, but this should last you for quite a while. So now you have that global library, which means all your projects have access to it. The next thing is we're going to, we have to activate JavaFX. It's going to be kind of a squirrely, strange thing, but you're going to go to File, New Project, and you'll notice that it does have the ability to create JavaFX projects. And then I'm going to go to JavaFX application, or FXML application, very important, FXML application. Hit Next, and then it'll say Activating JavaFX. Now that's the part you want. Now you'll notice that because this version of NetBeans, and because the JDK being version 13, we're getting the same error that has plagued us for ages. If you had stayed with version 8, it actually would not give this error, and it would let you create a JavaFX application. The caveat to that is it's using an old version of the JDK, not necessarily old, but the commercial version of the JDK through Oracle. So that means if you try to make money off of it or create anything that you could possibly make money off of, Oracle can sue you, or you'll have to at least pay for the commercial license, which is unfortunate. So after you've done the activation, you can actually cancel it. So basically, I call that faking out Apache NetBeans. The reason we did that is so when we start to add files here, it'll actually have a JavaFX category. If you didn't do that faking out process like I just did, where you pretend like you're about to create a JavaFX project and it says activating JavaFX 2, if you don't do that, it's not going to let you see the FXML, empty FXML files and other stuff. And there's a lot of other nice features that are still built in and they're integrated into here, even if you're not using the version of JavaFX that they want you to. So once you've done those two things, your NetBeans is actually set on whatever system you're at. So if you now we want to actually create a project, here's the stuff you have to do every time. So we're going to create a brand new project, and this time we're going to not go under JavaFX, but under Java with Ant. Create Java application, hit next. I'm going to uncheck create main class, and I'm going to give this some sort of name that makes sense. So I'm going to call it Hello FX, and hit finish. Once I do that, there's nothing different here. There's just the JDK 13, nothing difference between this and a plain old Java application, because that's what it is at this point. Now, the first thing I need to do is I want this project to have access to JavaFX. So I right-click the project name. That's the thing next to the little coffee cup. And then you have to make sure that you do a couple things under here. This is so that you have access to JavaFX. If you try to do anything without doing these following steps, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to get a lot of errors. So the first thing you do is go under Libraries, Category. On the Compile tab here, you're going to go to the class path and the little plus symbol, and then go to Add Library. You're going to add the global library, JavaFX 13, and make sure it appears here. Still under the Libraries category, on the Run tab, you're going to go to Module Path and go to Add Library. And we're going to do the same thing, add JavaFX 13, or whatever version you're working with. This should work probably for the next few versions unless they change something drastically, which is possible, but I kind of doubt it. They're kind of stabilizing now. So that's under the libraries. You've got the Compile tab, Run tab. Now go to the Run category, and under here we have to put this little thing right here, this little command to the virtual machine. It's called add module. Add modules JavaFX.controls, JavaFX.fxml. These are the basic ones we're going to be working with. If you're using FXML and Scene Builder, you need this one. If you're doing stuff like anything involving graphics outside of the controls, then you'll need to include other things like JavaFX.graphics. But for right now, this should be good. So once you have those things and you have the add modules command here, notice it's 2 hyphens in the front, 1, 2, and then between add and modules you have a single hyphen, space between add modules and the JavaFX.controls and JavaFX.fxml. So we hit OK on that. So we've set all that up. And now you'll notice under libraries we have not just the JDK 13, but all the JavaFX stuff. And obviously any of these that you need to use, such as FXML and controls like we did before, you'd have to put the virtual machine command on the run category for, say, JavaFX.media or something like that. So just be aware of that. Now, when we go under the, we've got the default package, we're going to create a new package, okay? And this one's going to be called HelloFX. I'm going to hit finish. You can call it whatever you want, but you do need something besides the default package. That's not just for good software engineering, which it is, but in here I found that it doesn't work particularly well without packages, and it seems to just work more smoothly with them. So first thing we're going to do is create a new Java class. This one's going to be mostly a plain old Java class. We're going to call it just HelloFX. Name it the same as the package we're in. Get rid of all the unnecessary Java doc stuff. And I'm going to create a main method in here. And we're going to make the HelloFX extend application. Now it's going to wonder what application is. If you hit Alt-Enter, you should find, or click the little thing there, this little symbol, you should find that there is an add import for JavaFX.application.application. Make sure you do not select the one for com.sun.glass UI application. You want the one from JavaFX. Once you do that, you'll find it gives you another error. So this one is because we're claiming we're extending this abstract class application, but we have not yet implemented all abstract methods. So we're going to click that, and it's going to just insert the code for the abstract method start. So that was in application. We have provided an implementation. Now this is the little cheesy thing they throw in here. It's called an unsupported operation exception. So this is just because they don't know how you're going to implement it. And I'm going to triple click and delete just to get rid of that body, and we've got a nice empty body here. Now, usually I put my main underneath start, so I'm going to do that again here, but it really doesn't matter where you put it. I just prefer it there. So inside start, or rather inside main, all you need to do is write launch and then pass args that you're getting in through main. The start's going to be a little bit more complicated, but we'll get there in just a second. We'll come back to this in just a moment. We're going to create the fxml file next. Right-click the package, go to New, Other, and you notice there is a folder down here called JavaFX. If you'll remember earlier when we faked out the system by pretending we were going to create a JavaFX application, it said activating JavaFX 2. Well, what that does for us, even though we're not using their the JDK 1.8 and going through their system, we're using all the open source products, it will create this folder for us, which is very useful. Okay, so we can create an empty fxml file here, hit next. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it HelloFXML. And then when I hit next, this is important. If you tell it to use a Java controller, you can actually tell it to create a new controller, which by default, it'll be the name of the fxml just with controller at the end. You can modify it to whatever you prefer. Just make sure you're creating a brand new one, or if you have an existing one, you can point to that. But for us, since we're starting from scratch, we're creating a brand new one. You can hit next and do anything you want to with cascading style sheets, but usually you can just hit finish. No big deal. You'll notice now that the fxml file is associated with its controller, that controller right here. And in fact, anytime we update this fxml file, we can actually right-click here on the fxml and go to Make Controller, and that will update our controller. So it's actually pretty snazzy. Now, in NetBeans right now, when I double-click this, I get just the fxml file, but I can actually use Scene Builder. I'm going to open up Scene Builder, which I installed previously. And inside Scene Builder, I'm just going to navigate through here and open, go to Open, and then I'm going to go find my little project here, which is under Documents, NetBeans Projects, and then it's the, what is this? Just HelloFX. So HelloFX, I'm going to go under Source, HelloFX, and then you'll notice there's just the HelloFXML.fxml. So I click that and there's just an anchor pane. I'm going to add to the anchor pane under Controls a button, and I'm going to add a label. The button, you'll notice some of the things we want to change on that is the text over here. Under the inspector, there's actually 3 sections on the accordion here. Properties, layout, and code. We're going to mostly need stuff under properties just to change the text, like click me. And then under code, you're going to put on action. This one's going to say, we'll just call it handle button. But you can call it whatever you want. That's going to be the name of the method in the code that will handle the action of clicking the button. So on action is usually the default action of whatever the control is. In this case, clicking. The label, on the other hand, we could clear the text in it. So I can delete that and it'll make the text go away. So if I click off, you might get a little bit concerned. You're like, how do I ever get back to the label? You can do it over here in the scene graph right over here. So I just click label and now it's highlighted again. But really what we're concerned about over here is under code. Under code for the label, in order to interact with it in NetBeans and provide Java commands related to this, we have to go in here and I'll just call it the label. We have to give it some sort of FX ID. That will be its identifier within the Java code. So I'm calling it the label. Once I've done that, I can hit save or go to file save or hit Control S. And now I can go back to Apache NetBeans and you'll notice that the fxml in here has been updated, right? Now it does have a problem. It says what's handle button? I don't know what that is. That's because the controller doesn't have a handle button method. Now you could manually fill all this in yourself, but the best way to do it, in my opinion, this is also another advantage of activating JavaFX when we faked out the system earlier, is to right-click hello fxml.fxml and go to make controller. If I click that, sometimes it takes a second. You might have to wait on it. It kind of freezes for a second. But then if you let it go, you'll notice it will have generated the label, and it also generated the handle button. And the error in the fxml has gone away now because we have the implemented handle button method. So these are really nice, handy features here. And one thing I can do here in handle button just to prove that this all works is I'll say the label.setText, and I'll put hello world on the text. Now, for those of you who might be very astute and paying very close attention, you'll notice that something looks a little bit awry right here, because normally you might say, oh, that's the initialize method. That means that's called when this comes into memory, and you'd be correct. And we can do any kind of setup we want inside initialize. However, I'm using this field right here, the label, and I'm immediately calling setText. Here's the problem. Normally, when we make fields, they get the automatic value. If it's a field and it's a reference type, meaning it's not one of the 8 primitives in Java, which is, the 8 primitives being byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, and boolean. If it's not one of those, it means it's automatically a reference type. And if it's a reference type, it holds a memory address. And the default memory address that is given to this when you have a field is null. So you might think I'm calling setText on null, so there's no object living at that memory location, so you think this might be a null pointer exception. And normally you would be right. However, the fact that there's the at fxml annotation at the top above this says that the fxml system will take care of giving this an object. So by the time it gets to handle button, the label will actually be pointing to an object. It'll hold the address of an object. So you don't need to worry about the null pointer exception. If you create your own methods that you're writing in here and that were not pulled in from Scene Builder, then you need to not put at fxml in front of it. This is strictly for the stuff that's generated or associated with what was created in Scene Builder. So let's see what happens. Run this guy. Don't see any errors, and give it a couple seconds, and it should, hopefully, might be a little slow the first time. Oh, I think we forgot something, didn't we? So it's running, and it's just kind of waiting there, not doing anything. It's because we didn't go back like I said we were going to. So that's not what we want. We're going to hit stop. I'm going to go to the initial JavaFX file here. It's a big part that I missed here. Sorry about that, guys. So on start, you're going to say parent root equals fxml loader dot. Okay, it doesn't seem to know what that is, so we're going to say parent. Add an import for fxml loader and also for parent. And then fxml loader dot load. Now you call get class dot get resource, and then you have to put the name of the fxml file. So this is kind of the final little piece we were missing and that I forgot to put in here. Got that, and then we create we don't have to create a stage because the stage is passed in by the system automatically to us, but we do have to create a scene. So the scene, we'll just call it scene. It doesn't know what scene is, so we're going to tell it import that, right? javafx.scene.scene. I say equals new scene based on the root. So this is, if you're not using fxml, you would not be doing this process. You'd be manually creating the scene and adding it to the stage and putting components on it, etc. So we can say scene.setTitle to hello world, and then scene. Oh, I'm sorry, not scene.setTitle. Stage.setTitle to hello world. Stage.setScene. This is important. And then the last part that you have to do with the stage is show. So I missed all this, unfortunately. Forgot that, but hey, it's live television, sorta. So let's run this and see what happens. So now I have my little pop-up. Got my button, and when I click it, my label should populate with data, which it does. So hopefully that was useful, and this will get you off the ground, and you can now start adding stuff in Scene Builder and playing around with the other components. So I hope you have a great time. Thanks. Bye-bye.